Okay, so here's my HPI RS4 you guys have all seen. It did have a complete rebuild. Unfortunately, there's no video of that. This used to be a 15 FE, but I could not get a 15 FE top end for it anymore, so it's actually been turned into a 12. It's got all the guts from a 12, including a 12 top end, which luckily my local hobby shop had in stock. And I was just there and picked up this little gem. Ain't that pretty? It's the only downside. It's got one little tiny bent fin at the bottom, but you're not really going to notice that. And that was sitting around for a 12 FE from like 1990 something. So it's been sitting around for a while, but today we're going to change the cylinder heads out because I hate that die casting. It's ugly. The glow plug is already removed, and I already loosened the screws, so we're just going to pull these screws out. Always helps to have really good Allen keys when you're doing this. Don't use cheap Allen keys, ever. Oh, still a little bit too tight on that one side. It'll help if I did the right ones, right? Yeah. Nope. It's gonna make an ass out of me here. Where is it? Where's that screw at? Oh, I missed the screw. No wonder I couldn't get it out. Okay. Right. Okay, so there's a cylinder head. Note that there is a gasket that goes underneath there. Always measure it against your new gasket to make sure they're the same. I'm going to be using the new one today. Also, this screw head came with new screws, which is a good thing right here, which we're also going to be using. So now we put on our new head gasket. And we have our cylinder head here. And what I like to do is take a little bit of a liquid wrench and just kind of take my screws and just kind of, hang on a second here. It's just kind of give them just a little squirt like that. Just kind of helps them going easier. Lubricates the threads so you don't go in dry into aluminum, because you got to remember you're going dry, steel into aluminum, right? Let me get these screws into the head and we'll continue on once we're there. Okay, we're back. Just had to get all the screws in there. You can see them all. Okay, so there's one dented fin, so we're going to turn the dented fin in. Dented fin in. Okay, so we're going to turn the dented fin inwards so that we don't see it. Make sure our head gasket's on. Just want to be careful. Make sure the head seats all the way down. It just sits on there. Oh, doesn't that look pretty already? Doesn't that just look awesome? Alright. Okay, yeah, head gasket's all in. Nothing funny's going on. Okay. Now we're going to tighten it down. This is a stupid camera. 2.0 millimeter hex wrench, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, they don't make Sportworks wrenches anymore. They haven't for over 10 years, which is unfortunate because they actually made really good stuff. And you don't want to tighten these all the way down one at a time. You want to kind of run them down, a little bit, until they're kind of not really tight, but you want to start kind of just evenly taking up the slack on the screws, little bit by little bit, until they're all starting to snug. Because that head gasket's new, so you're going to take that into consideration. And you do not want to over tighten this, because if you strip out your block, you're pretty much screwed. I've been doing this a long time, so I know how to torque these without stripping them. It's just basically common sense. And that's also why I add a little liquid wrench to my screws, so they're not going in dry. But there it is, installed. Make sure it turns over, there's no binding or anything like that. And we also have a brand new OS A3 glow plug to put in, which we're going to do now. Handy tech tip: if you get yourself an 8mm socket and get yourself a nice fat piece of RC fuel tubing and you stuff it in there, it can make it so that when you, instead of using the cheap wrenches, you can use an 8mm socket and your glow plug won't fall off. Just thought I'd share that. Now we're going to drop that guy right down in there. Make sure it goes in nice and true. There's no binding or anything, any kind of funny business going on. And you don't need to tighten these things up crazy tight. You need to get them snug. If you over tighten them, you'll strip them and then you're screwed. So we just go about that much. Trying to do it one hand with a busted wrist, so it's not easy. But there it is. Unfortunately, this part is no longer in production. It hasn't been for some time, but look at that beauty. I still need to put zip ties on my pipe. And when I do seal these engines up, because I seal the back plate, this engine has brand new bearings in it. I use Permatex Ultra Black. And after run oil for some assembly, I use the other oil over there in the red container for different stuff. But yeah, let's look at that old head there for a minute. You know, heavy, weighs more than this one does. Doesn't have very tall fins on it, so it doesn't allow for very good cooling. Like, yeah, not very attractive looking either. I mean, that purple head on there with a purple body and the black pipe looks awesome. And we have our old screws and old head gaskets, so we're going to save those for a rainy day just in case we ever lose one when we're working on our stuff. And yeah, there's going to be more to come on this. Yes, I know my air filters from a RC10 GT, because the original air filter rotted away and I couldn't find another one. So that's that. Ain't that just the best thing ever? And see, if we take the air cleaner off, there is a dented fin right there, but it's really hard to see it, so I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. And the other thing with these engines is, if you can find yourself an OS 10E rotary carburetor for these, is a much better upgrade because it's a 2-needle carb, plus has a lot bigger venturi. Just as a tip, if you can actually find one, they're pretty impossible nowadays. And most people know with a 15FE and 12s and all that stuff made by HPI that the front bearings leak like a sieve. Well, I got actually a set of fast steady bearings for this brand new on eBay for 10 bucks and installed those, and it doesn't leak at all. So it actually tunes better, runs easier, and has more power. And I'm going to be upgrading the carb soon, so keep your eye out for that. Not enough coffee today. Anyways, just thought I'd share this little vid of the new hotness on my RS4. There's going to be new wheels and tires put on it soon. And a cracked air cleaner if I can find one. And new radio receiver and get rid of the stupid battery thing here. But anyways, cheers guys, and take it easy.